My wife pretended I was invisible for 7 days, until my best friend dropped by and her manipulation failed in 7 seconds, and now she is begging. Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, but I need to get this off my chest. This might be long, so buckle up. I'm Mike, 34 million, network engineer making around $115,000 a year. Not Jeff Bezos money, but I was comfortable before I met Jessica, 31F. We met 4 years ago at my buddy Dave's BBQ. She worked as a social media consultant, making maybe $30,000 on a good year, but looked like she stepped out of a magazine. Way out of my league, or so I thought. Growing up, my parents taught me to save, to live within my means. Before Jessica, I had a decent apartment, a reliable Honda, and solid savings. Life was simple but good. After 8 months of dating, we got married in a ceremony that cost me nearly $35,000. Her parents contributed exactly $0, despite promising to help. Red flag number 1 that I completely ignored. I cleared out most of my savings for her dream wedding, while she kept adding must-haves to the list. The $5,000 dress, exotic flowers that died next day, the works. Red flag number 2 came during our Maui honeymoon when Jessica maxed out 2 of my credit cards on shopping and spa treatments. We're married now, she shrugged when I expressed concern. What's yours is mine. Funny how that principle never worked in reverse. 3 years later, our lifestyle had completely transformed to accommodate Jessica's expectations. We moved from my comfortable apartment to a house in an upscale neighborhood that stretched my budget to the breaking point. She drove a leased BMW X5 while I kept my Honda. Our closets told the story better than I could. Hers overflowing with designer labels, shoes still in boxes, bags with tags attached. Mine a modest collection of basics from outlet stores. The story I'm about to tell started last Tuesday after dinner. Nothing special about the meal, just pasta I'd picked up after a 12-hour shift dealing with a server crash. We're eating, everything seems fine, then out of nowhere Jessica gets up, puts her plate in the sink, and slams the bedroom door shut. And that was it. The beginning of 7 days of complete and utter silence. This wasn't the I'm mad but I'll get over it kind of silence. This was psychological warfare. Every good morning met with her turning her back. Every question answered with nothing but footsteps walking away. I checked her social media, still posting happy selfies with captions about living my best life. Called her friend Tiffany, who said Jessica seemed fine. Even reached out to her mom who just said, "You know how she gets sometimes," with this knowing tone that made my blood boil. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about communication. This was about control. She wanted me to squirm, to rack my brain trying to figure out what I'd done wrong this time. Was it because I worked late? Or maybe I didn't compliment the new $400 throw pillows she bought without consulting me. With her, it could literally be anything. The worst part? This wasn't the first time. About every 2 months, Jessica would find some perceived slight, some reason to punish me with silence. The episodes usually lasted 2 to 3 days, ending only when I figured out what I'd done wrong, apologized profusely, and usually bought her something expensive as a peace offering. But 7 days? This was a new record. By day 3, I was done trying. The constant rejection was humiliating. I started living like I was alone, cooked my own meals, slept in the guest bedroom, way more comfortable than I remembered, and went about my business. The silence became like this third person in our house, growing bigger each day while my patience got thinner. One morning while getting ready for work, I caught Jessica watching me from the kitchen doorway. Our eyes met for a split second before she quickly looked away, but not before I caught something in her expression that made my blood boil. Satisfaction. She was enjoying this power play, testing how far she could push me. My buddy Dave texted to check if we were still on for our weekly gaming session. I hadn't told any friends about what was happening. Too embarrassing to admit my wife was treating me like I was invisible. Dave's always been a straight shooter. We've known each other since high school, and he never liked Jessica. "She's using you, man," he'd say. I always defended her, but deep down, I was starting to think he might be right. "Everything cool at home?" Dave texted. "How'd you know something was up?" I replied. "You've been online gaming until 2 a.m. every night this week. You only do that when you're avoiding something. Plus, Jessica hasn't posted any pics of you two together in days, just herself shopping." I ended up calling Dave and spilling everything. The silent treatment, the confusion, the hurt. "Dude," he said, "that's abuse. Straight up psychological abuse." "Come on," I argued weakly. "It's not like she's hitting me." "Emotional abuse is still abuse, man. My sister went through this with her ex. It's a control tactic. They make you feel like you're always walking on eggshells." His words hit home hard, walking on eggshells. That's exactly how I'd felt for years now. Look, Dave continued, I don't want to overstep, but I've been keeping track of some stuff. The patterns in her behavior, the financial drain. I work in risk assessment, remember? It's literally my job to document problematic patterns. And buddy, your marriage is setting off every red flag in my playbook. That evening, I noticed Jessica's shopping bags from Nordstrom in the hallway. 4 of them. I checked our joint account. She'd spent $1,200 in a single afternoon while giving me the silent treatment. This is what really pissed me off. She'd quit her social media gig 6 months ago to find herself and hadn't found much except the mall. Meanwhile, I was busting my ass 50+ hours a week to keep up with her spending. I sat in the guest room that night scrolling through our financial statements from the past year. The picture wasn't pretty. Jessica had spent nearly $43,000 on clothing, makeup, spa treatments, and home decor. That was more than a third of my after-tax income. And what did I have to show for it? A house full of stuff I didn't care about, a depleted savings account, and a wife who wouldn't speak to me. That night, scrolling through old contacts on my phone, I saw a name that brought back a flood of memories. Samantha. We had grown up together, dated in college before life pulled us in different directions. She'd become a pediatric nurse, always wanted to help kids. She had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. Jessica met her once at my company Christmas party and hated her immediately. Stay away from that charity case, she had sneered on the ride home. Did you see her shoes? Probably bought them at Target. And like the good husband I thought I needed to be, I complied, just to keep the peace. I clicked on Samantha's profile picture. Nothing fancy, just her in scrubs with a kid in a hospital bed, both making goofy faces. I found myself comparing the two women. Jessica, with her perfect Instagram aesthetic, designer wardrobe, and cold manipulation. Samantha, with her genuine smile, meaningful career, and the warmth I remembered from our college days. How had I ended up with someone who treated me like an ATM instead of a partner? Samantha had actually messaged me a few weeks back. Just passing through town for a medical conference, wanted to grab coffee and catch up. I had politely declined. Too busy with work, too worried about upsetting Jessica. But now, with day 6 of the silent treatment dragging on, something shifted inside me. That morning, I'd overheard Jessica on the phone with Tiffany, whispering but not quietly enough, "He's still trying to figure out what he did wrong." It's hilarious. I'll probably make him take me to Cancun to make up for it. Then giggling about torturing me psychologically, about manipulating me into an expensive vacation. I stood there in the hallway, frozen, as everything suddenly became crystal clear. It was like a fog lifted. All those times I'd apologized without knowing what for. All those expensive makeup gifts. None of it was about me making mistakes. It was about Jessica creating situations where she could extract more from me. More money, more control, more power. During my lunch break, I called a lawyer. Just a consultation, I told myself. Just to know my options. Washington is an equitable distribution state, the lawyer explained. That means marital assets are divided fairly, but not necessarily equally. What about her spending habits? I asked. She's gone through tens of thousands on luxury items while I pay all the bills. Document everything, was his advice. Bank statements, credit card bills, text messages discussing finances. If you can prove systematic financial exploitation or waste, it strengthens your position significantly. I thanked him, paid the consultation fee, and decided to make a move. The message from Samantha was still sitting there in my inbox. I stared at my phone, 6 days of silence suffocating me. Before I could talk myself out of it, I typed, "Still in town for that conference? I'd love to catch up tomorrow night." The moment I hit send, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Control over my own life. If Jessica wanted silence, I'd give her something worth talking about. Samantha's response came almost immediately. "Mike! Yes, I'm here until Sunday. Thought you'd never ask. The Craftsman at 8? They have great mocktails." I smiled at my phone, a genuine smile that felt weird on my face after nearly a week of forced neutrality. I glanced toward the living room where Jessica sat scrolling through her phone, still pretending I was invisible, probably looking at more overpriced crap to buy with my money. "Perfect," I replied. "Looking forward to seeing you again." I called Dave to fill him in on my plans. "Just meeting for conversation," I clarified. "Nothing shady." "I didn't say anything," Dave replied, but I could hear the smile in his voice. "But listen, while you're out, I could swing by your place. Been meaning to drop off that gaming headset you wanted to borrow. Might be good to have someone document Jessica's reaction when you're not home for once." I hesitated, then agreed. Dave had a point. An objective witness to Jessica's behavior could be valuable. I gave him the code to our garage and told him about the guest house in the back where he could wait unnoticed. One more thing, Dave said before hanging up. Check your email. I sent you something you should see before tomorrow night. The email contained a folder with dozens of screenshots. Text conversations between Dave and Jessica that I'd never seen before. Messages where she complained about my pathetic salary. Conversations where she bragged about how easily she could manipulate me into buying her things. Even a few where she flirted with Dave, who had apparently played along just to see how far she'd go. Pretty far, it turned out. Been collecting these for a while, Dave's note read. Didn't want to hurt you, but you need to see who she really is. This isn't love, Mike. I went to bed that night with my mind racing, but my resolve strengthening. Tomorrow would change everything. I woke up on day 7 feeling weirdly liberated. For the first time since this silent treatment began, I wasn't bothered by it. I showered longer than usual, shaved carefully, and put on that expensive cologne Jessica had said was too much, and then bought me some generic department store crap instead. As I buttoned up my nicest shirt in front of the mirror, I caught myself smiling. Tonight wasn't going to be about Jessica's childish games anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I checked our bank account again. Another withdrawal. $350 at some spa. Must be nice to spend someone else's money while treating them like garbage. Before heading to work, I did something I should have done a long time ago. I transferred $25,000 from our joint savings into my personal account, just as a precaution. This represented about half of what was left after Jessica's shopping sprees and the ridiculous down payment she insisted we make on her BMW X5. The day at work was surprisingly productive. Without the constant anxiety about what mood Jessica would be in when I got home, I found myself focusing better, thinking more clearly. My boss even commented on it. You seem different today, Mike. More present. I just nodded and smiled. Personal fog lifting, I guess. Throughout the day, my phone kept buzzing with messages from Samantha. Each notification sent this rush of excitement through me. We reminisced about college days, shared updates on mutual friends, and flirted just enough to walk that dangerous line between friendly and something more. The conversation flowed so easy, unlike the constant eggshell walking I'd gotten used to at home. Remember that night at Silver Lake? She texted. How could I forget? Midnight swimming under a full moon, her silhouette against the water, the way she kissed me on the dock afterwards. That was 10 years ago, before responsibilities and mortgage payments. Before I met Jessica. Midday, I got a text from Dave. All set for tonight. Garage code works, won't make a sound. I also received some unexpected news from my boss. The Seattle position I'd applied for months ago, a significant promotion with stock options and a $30,000 salary bump, was mine if I wanted it. Jessica had been adamantly against it when I first mentioned it. Seattle is so dreary, she'd complained. And that's barely any more money for a lot more work. What she didn't know was that the position came with stock options that were about to vest. The company was doing well, and conservative estimates put the value around $200,000. I'd kept this detail from Jessica, something in my gut telling me to keep this card close to my chest. I'll have my answer for you tomorrow, I told my boss, who seemed pleased. When I got home that evening, Jessica was in the kitchen making dinner just for herself, obviously. I watched her for a moment from the doorway. The determined way she ignored my presence was almost theatrical at this point. 7 full days now. A whole week of punishment for a crime I still had no clue about committing. I walked past her to the bedroom to change clothes for my evening out. As I picked out a jacket, I heard her footsteps pause outside the door. She was watching, curious about my unexpected preparations. Typically by now, I would have been on my knees begging for forgiveness, desperate to end the silent treatment. But not today. My phone chimed with another message from Samantha. I deliberately left it unlocked on the bed while I finished getting ready, knowing Jessica could see the screen from where she stood. Samantha had sent a selfie from the restaurant. She looked stunning in a simple black dress, nothing flashy or designer, but she wore it with a confidence that Jessica's expensive outfits never achieved. The text read, "Got here early to snag us a good spot. Can't wait to see you. Like old times." When I turned around, Jessica was standing in the doorway, arms crossed tightly over her chest, wearing the $600 loungewear set she'd bought last month, because it was on sale. I could see all the questions in her eyes, the tension in her jaw, but still not a single word. The silent treatment remained her weapon of choice. "Don't wait up," I said casually, walking past her with a confidence I hadn't felt in forever. The scent of my cologne lingered in the air between us. I caught a glimpse of her expression in the hallway mirror, confusion mixed with the first hints of worry. When I arrived at the Craftsman, Samantha was already there, holding court at a corner table. Her face lit up when she saw me, and she stood to embrace me, lingering just long enough to remind me of what we once shared. "You look amazing," I said truthfully. "You don't look so bad yourself," she replied, eyes taking me in appreciatively. "Though I'm surprised you actually showed up. Didn't think you had it in you anymore. Last time I saw you, you seemed, I don't know, beaten down." The slight challenge in her voice wasn't lost on me. The man she knew in college would never have tolerated being treated the way Jessica had been treating me. Somewhere along the way, I'd lost myself trying to keep an impossible peace. "People change," I said, taking a seat across from her. "Then sometimes they change back." For the next 2 hours, we talked about everything and nothing. Samantha told me about her work with sick kids, her small but cozy apartment, her plans to maybe open a wellness clinic someday. Not once did she mention designer brands or complain about not having enough stuff. It was refreshing to talk to someone who actually contributed something to the world instead of just taking. "So what's the real story with you and Jessica?" Samantha finally asked. "Your social media shows this perfect couple, but something's off. I can see it in your eyes." I hesitated, then found myself telling her everything. The silent treatments, the financial drain, the constant feeling that I was never quite good enough. "Mike," Samantha said gently, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "That's not a marriage. That's captivity." My phone buzzed repeatedly in my pocket. I checked it to find 5 messages from Jessica, the first communication in a week. "Where are you? Who are you with? Why aren't you answering? I need you to take me shopping tomorrow for new boots." "Hello?" The entitlement in that 4th message almost made me laugh out loud. Classic. Break the silence not with an apology, but with a demand for more spending. I put the phone back in my pocket without responding. Then I did something impulsive. I took a selfie with Samantha, both of us smiling, my arm around her shoulder, her face close to mine. I posted it to my Instagram with the caption, "Reconnecting with old friends makes you realize what you've been missing." Jessica followed my Instagram religiously. "Everything okay?" Samantha asked, noticing my expression. I smiled, feeling more certain than ever about my next move. "Better than okay, but I think it's time we take this conversation somewhere else." She raised an eyebrow. "Your place?" I nodded. "Exactly. My place. There's someone I think you should meet." Samantha hesitated. "Mike, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I'm not interested in being part of some revenge scheme against your wife." "It's not like that," I assured her. I need a witness. Someone who can see what I've been dealing with. Someone who knew me before, who can remind me that I'm not crazy for feeling the way I do." She studied my face for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but promise me this isn't about trying to make her jealous or hurt her. This is about you gaining clarity." "Promise," I said, and meant it. As we pulled into the driveway, I noticed all the lights were on in the house. Jessica's shadow moved behind the living room curtains. I checked my phone. 15 missed calls and 27 text messages in the past hour. The silent treatment was clearly over on her end, though I hadn't responded to a single message. "Ready for this?" Samantha asked, her expression a mixture of concern and excitement. "More than ready," I replied, turning off the engine. When we walked through the front door, Jessica was standing in the hallway, arms crossed tightly over her chest. The look of shock on her face when she saw Samantha beside me was absolutely priceless. Her eyes widened, lips parted, body frozen in disbelief. "Look who I ran into," I said casually, helping Samantha out of her coat. "You remember Samantha from the company Christmas party, right? The nurse with the Target shoes?" Samantha raised an eyebrow at this, but said nothing. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Jessica's eyes darted between us, calculations visibly running through her mind as she tried to process this unexpected development. 3 minutes of strained silence. Samantha smiled warmly, seemingly unaffected by the tension. "Your home is beautiful, though it seems a bit materialistic. So many brand new things." She moved toward the living room, heels clicking confidently on the hardwood floor. "Oh, is this the new restoration hardware collection? My hospital director just bought the same pieces. She mentioned they cost more than her first car." 5 minutes now. Jessica remained statue still, her silent treatment now less a weapon and more a paralysis. I moved to the kitchen, pulling out 3 glasses. "Water? Juice?" I called out, knowing exactly what I was doing. "Water, please," Samantha answered, examining the bookshelves now. "Oh, wow. All these books look brand new. Do you actually read, Jessica?" Mike always loved discussing literature. 6 minutes. Jessica followed me into the kitchen, her movements stiff. I could feel her eyes boring into my back as I filled glasses with filtered water. When I turned around, the fury in her expression was unmistakable. But still not a word. Samantha appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame with easy confidence. You know, I was just telling Mike about the Children's Hospital fundraiser next month. We're trying to raise money for kids with cancer. I noticed your designer handbag collection in the hallway. One of those bags could probably fund a child's entire treatment. And that was it. 6 minutes and 43 seconds to be exact. What is she doing in our house? Jessica's voice erupted, breaking her self-imposed silence with a volcanic force that made the water glasses vibrate. I handed Samantha a glass before answering. Found your voice rather quickly, didn't you? It's amazing what 7 days of silence can do for the vocal cords. Jessica's face flushed crimson. You brought her here? To our home? I took a deliberate sip of water, maintaining eye contact over the rim of my glass. I thought you weren't speaking to me. In fact, I thought I'd become invisible this past week. Funny how that works. Samantha cleared her throat softly. Perhaps I should give you two some privacy. No, I said firmly, without looking away from Jessica. Samantha is my guest. She's welcome here. Jessica's eyes narrowed dangerously. You know exactly what you're doing. Do I? I countered, setting my glass down. Because for 7 days I've had no idea what I supposedly did wrong. 7 days of being punished for a crime I wasn't even informed of. So enlighten me. What exactly am I doing wrong now? The kitchen fell silent again. But this silence was different, charged with confrontation rather than avoidance. Jessica glanced at Samantha, then back at me, realization dawning in her eyes. She'd lost control of her carefully orchestrated power play, and she knew it. You did this deliberately? She whispered, voice trembling with anger. You brought her here to hurt me. Samantha sipped her water, watching the exchange with measured interest. The confident presence of another woman in our home, especially one Jessica had explicitly disrespected, had accomplished in 7 minutes what I couldn't achieve in 7 days, breaking through the wall of silence. I stepped closer to Jessica, lowering my voice. Hurt you. That's rich coming from someone who's been psychologically torturing me for a week while spending my money. Tell me, how does it feel to get a taste of your own medicine? You're a pathetic excuse for a husband, Jessica spat. I expect an apology for this humiliating display. That's when I played my trump card. I pulled out my phone and played the recording, the one I'd made that morning of Jessica talking to Tiffany about manipulating me into taking her to Cancun. Her face went from red to white in seconds. By the way, I added, I've transferred half our savings to my personal account. Consider it compensation for emotional distress. Oh, and I've spoken to a lawyer. Turns out psychological abuse and financial exploitation are things courts take pretty seriously these days. Jessica's composure crumbled completely. You can't divorce me, she stammered. You need me. Actually, Samantha interjected, from what I can see, he's been doing all the heavy lifting in this relationship. Financially, emotionally, probably in every other way too. Stay out of this, Nurse Ratched, Jessica snarled. But there was panic in her voice now. I smiled calmly. One more thing. I've accepted that promotion in Seattle. The one you said was beneath us because it wasn't enough of a salary bump. Turns out it comes with stock options that just vested, worth about $200,000. Jessica's eyes widened. I could practically see the dollar signs in them. But you're not coming with me, I continued. The house is underwater thanks to your insistence on refinancing to pay for your shopping habits. The cars are leased in my name. And that prenup you thought was standard? It has a clause about abandonment and psychological abuse. You can't prove anything, she whispered. Dave chose that exact moment to walk through the front door. I'd texted him while in the kitchen. Actually, he said, holding up a thumb drive, he can. I've been documenting Jessica's spending habits and emotional abuse patterns for the past year. Plus, I'm a witness to the silent treatment. I've been staying in your guest house all week with Mike's permission. Heard everything. Jessica looked between the three of us, her face a mask of shock and betrayal. You've been spying on me? In my own home? Our home, I corrected. The home I pay for while you treat me like a servant. And it's not spying when you're being so blatant about your manipulation. Just documentation. She switched tactics, her expression suddenly softening, tears welling in her eyes. Mike, baby, please, she said, her voice honey-sweet now. You're making a huge mistake. We can work this out. I love you. I've always loved you. I shook my head slowly. No, Jessica. You've never loved me. You loved what I could provide. There's a difference. That's not true, she cried, the tears falling now. I was just upset about your parents' visit last weekend. You were on your phone the whole time, ignoring everyone. I just needed you to understand how that made me feel. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. That's what this was about? Your parents were here for 6 hours. I checked my work emails for maybe 20 minutes total, because we had a server emergency. And your response was to punish me with a week of silence. Jessica collapsed into a chair, the reality of her situation hitting her like a truck. Mike, please, she begged, her voice suddenly soft and vulnerable, a tone I'd only heard when she wanted something expensive. We can work this out. I'll change. I'll get a job. I'll go to therapy. Too little, too late, I said, feeling nothing but relief. You should pack your essentials tonight. You can stay with Tiffany while the lawyers sort things out. But I have nowhere to go, she cried, real tears now. Tiffany's apartment is tiny. All my friends have small places. I can't live like that. Should have thought about that before treating your husband like an ATM with a pulse, Samantha remarked. Jessica tried one last tactic, moving toward me with that seductive walk she used when she wanted to manipulate me. Baby, remember how good we are together? No one knows how to please you like I do. I stepped back. Actually, regarding that, thanks for faking it for 3 years. Samantha already explained that no woman actually makes those specific sounds unless she's putting on a performance. Eye-opening conversation. Jessica's jaw dropped. She looked between us, defeated and humiliated. You have 1 hour to pack, I said calmly. Dave will supervise to make sure you don't take anything that isn't explicitly yours. The joint credit cards have already been canceled. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Jessica moved in with Tiffany, who kicked her out after just 10 days. She expected me to wait on her hand and foot. She bounced between friends' couches, each stay shorter than the last as her true nature revealed itself without my financial support to cushion her entitlement. I filed for divorce with all the documentation Dave had collected. The lawyer was impressed. Most people don't come this prepared, she said, reviewing the evidence of financial abuse and psychological manipulation. This will significantly streamline the process. Jessica hired and fired 3 different lawyers, each one giving her increasingly bad news about her prospects. The prenup held up, especially with the documentation of her financial waste and emotional abuse. In the end, she got less than 10% of what she demanded. The promotion in Seattle became my lifeline. I sold the house, at a loss, but I didn't care. Donated most of the furniture Jessica had insisted on buying, and moved with just what could fit in my Honda. The new job was challenging but fulfilling, the kind of work I'd always wanted to do but had been talked out of pursuing by Jessica's constant demands for more income over job satisfaction. Samantha and I kept in touch. She was supportive throughout the divorce process, but careful to maintain appropriate boundaries. You need time to heal, she said wisely, to figure out who Mike really is without Jessica's influence. She was right. I spent 6 months focusing on myself, rediscovering old hobbies, making new friends, seeing a therapist to understand how I'd fallen into such a toxic relationship. I joined a hiking group, started playing guitar again, even took a woodworking class. Slowly, the man I used to be, the one with confidence and joy and self-respect, began to reemerge. Jessica's attempts to contact me grew increasingly desperate as her reality set in. First came the angry texts, "You'll regret this." Then the guilt trips, "I'm practically homeless because of you." And finally, the pathetic pleas, "I miss you so much. I've changed. Please give me another chance." The last I heard, she was working as a receptionist at a car dealership and sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other women. Her Instagram still showed her posing with luxury items, all borrowed or rented according to mutual friends. The facade was cracking, though. Former friends started commenting about the inconsistencies in her lavish lifestyle posts, while she complained privately about eating ramen for dinner. 8 months after moving to Seattle, I invited Samantha to visit for a weekend. She'd taken a position at Seattle Children's Hospital. A coincidence, she insisted, though I wondered. That weekend turned into regular visits, which eventually led to her relocating permanently. We're taking things slow, building a relationship based on mutual respect and genuine affection, rather than manipulation and material expectations. For the first time in years, I'm with someone who values me for who I am, not what I can provide. Someone who speaks to me when she's upset instead of using silence as a weapon. Last week, Jessica called from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to hear what she had to say. "Mike, please," she sobbed. "I need help. My roommates are kicking me out. I've got nowhere to go. I can't afford anything in this city on my salary. Could you just maybe help with a security deposit on a new place? For old time's sake?" I let the silence hang for a moment, not as punishment, but to truly consider my response. "I'm sorry you're struggling, Jessica," I finally said, "but your housing situation isn't my responsibility anymore. But I can email you some links to financial assistance programs and affordable housing options," I offered. "But that's all I can do." The silence on her end was deafening. Then, in a small voice, "I really messed up, didn't I?" "Yes," I answered honestly. You did? After we hung up, Samantha asked who had called. When I told her, she just squeezed my hand. You're a good man, Mike. Better than most would be in your situation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just walking away. It's reclaiming your life and finding happiness while the person who tried to destroy you watches from the sidelines, powerless to stop it. Jessica took 7 days of silence to break me down. It took me 7 minutes with Samantha to find the courage to break free. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and supportive comments. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, the prenup was solid because my lawyer included specific clauses about financial waste and emotional abuse. 2. No, I don't feel bad about how things ended. 7 years of manipulation is enough. 3. For those asking if Samantha and I are official yet, yes, as of last month. And no, I haven't heard from Jessica since that last desperate phone call, and I'm perfectly fine with that.